Admiral Hyun-woo Kim walked into the Great Hall with slow, heavy steps. The cameras followed his every move. Billions of beings across the galaxy watched him through their screens. Today was supposed to be the end of the war that had torn apart dozens of star systems. The hall was massive. Golden walls reached up to a glass ceiling that showed the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. Representatives from 3 different species sat at a round table in the center. The Valkyrians looked like tall, gray creatures with 4 arms and black eyes that never blinked. The Vek were shorter but wider, with thick blue skin and tentacles where humans had hair. Hyun-woo took his seat between them. He wore his best uniform, the one with all the medals he had earned during the war, but today those medals felt heavy on his chest. Not because he was ashamed of them, but because of what he was about to do. Director So-min Park sat behind him with the other human officials. She looked calm, but Hyun-woo knew her well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. Captain Dong-hyun Lee stood by the wall with the other security officers. Ambassador Ji-won Choi sat at the table's edge, ready to translate if needed. The Valkyrian representative Zethkal spread all 4 of his arms wide. "Today we make peace," he said in his strange, clicking voice. "The humans have learned their place in the galaxy." The Vek leader, Vrextel, made a sound like water bubbling. "Yes, no more human expansion. No more human colonies taking our worlds. The treaty will keep them on their small planets where they belong." Hyun-woo said nothing. He just nodded and picked up the pen. The document in front of him was thick, full of rules and limits. Earth's military would be cut by 70%. Humans could only have colonies on 12 worlds. No human ship could carry weapons larger than what was needed for basic defense. Trade with other species would be limited. Everything designed to keep humanity small and weak. The aliens thought they had won. For 3 years they had fought against human expansion into space. They had superior technology, bigger ships, and more soldiers. When they offered this peace treaty, they believed humans had no choice but to sign. But as Hyun-woo wrote his name on the document, he thought about the real plan. The plan that only a few humans knew about. The plan that had been years in the making. So-min Park watched the ceremony with sharp eyes. She had been Earth's intelligence chief for 8 years. She knew things about the aliens that they didn't know about themselves. For example, she knew that they had been planning to destroy humanity completely. Not just limit them, but wipe them out entirely. 3 years ago, her agents had intercepted secret messages between Valkyrian and Vek leaders. The messages talked about the human problem and final solutions. They planned to wait until humans felt safe, then strike with hidden weapons placed around every human world. That was when Earth's real leaders made their choice. They would not wait to be destroyed. Instead, they would make the aliens think. They had won while preparing for the real fight. Captain Dong-hyun Lee stood perfectly still, but his mind was racing. In 6 months, he would begin the most dangerous mission of his life. He would have to infiltrate alien worlds, gather information, and prepare for what was coming. The aliens thought the war was over, but for humans like him, it was just beginning. The signing ceremony continued. Each representative made speeches about peace and cooperation. The Valkyrians talked about bringing order to the galaxy. The Vek spoke of stability and proper boundaries. When it was Hyun-woo's turn to speak, he stood. "Slowly, Earth accepts this treaty," he said in a voice that carried across the hall. "We want peace with our neighbors. We will follow the rules written here." Every word was true, but not in the way the aliens understood. After the ceremony, reporters crowded around the exits. They asked questions about what the treaty meant for the future. Most humans watching would see this as a defeat, and that was exactly what Earth's leaders wanted. The galaxy needed to believe that humanity had given up. As the crowds left the hall, So-min Park walked close to Hyun-woo. To anyone watching, she was just briefing him on security details. But her fingers tapped against her tablet in a code. They had practiced many times. "Operation Sleeping Dragon is now active," her tap said. "They took the bait perfectly." Hyun-woo nodded slightly. Phase 1 was complete. The aliens believed they had contained the human threat. They would relax their guard, reduce their patrols, and focus on other things. They had no idea that they had just signed their own defeat that night. In a secure room deep beneath the Earth Council building, the real meeting began. Only 7 people were present. Haiyan Wu, So Min, Dong Haiyan, and 4 others who held the most important secrets on Earth. The treaty is signed, Haiyan Wu said. How long do we have? So Min activated a holographic display. It showed star maps, ship movements, and intelligence reports. Our sources say they plan to move their hidden weapons into position over the next 2 years. They want to make sure we're really following the treaty before they act. That gives us time, said General J. Haiyan Shin, the man who would command Earth's real military. Our shipyards are already building under cover. By the time they're ready to move, we'll have 3 times the fleet they think we have. Dr. Yunji Han, Earth's top scientist, spoke next. We've been studying their technology for years. We know their weaknesses. More importantly, we've improved on their designs. Our new ships will be faster, stronger, and completely invisible. To their sensors, Dong Haiyan Li looked at the star maps. What about intelligence? We need to know exactly where they put their weapons. Already handled, So Min said with a small smile. We've had people in place for months. Every alien base, every hidden facility, every secret meeting, we're watching all of it. They think their communications are secure, but we've been reading their messages since before the war even started. The last person at the table was Minho Jiang, the engineer who would oversee the secret construction projects. The asteroid bases are ready. We can build 100 ships for every one they think we're scrapping. The mining operations will provide perfect cover. Haiyan Wu looked around the table at these people who held humanity's future in their hands. Remember, no one else can know. Not our families, not our closest friends. As far as the galaxy is concerned, we're defeated. We're following the treaty exactly as written. What if some humans can't handle believing we lost? Jay Hai asked. They'll have to, So Min replied. Better that some humans think we're weak than have the aliens discover we're strong. When the time comes, everyone will understand. As the meeting ended, each person left separately. They would not meet like this again for months. They would return to their public roles, playing the part of defeated leaders managing humanity's retreat. But in secret, they would prepare for the greatest surprise attack in galactic history. The aliens thought the war was over. They were wrong. It hadn't even truly begun. 6 months after the treaty was signed, the galaxy watched as humanity seemed to keep its promises. Human warships flew toward scrapyards in long, sad lines. News reports showed weapons being destroyed and military bases being shut down. Earth's colonies stopped growing and no new settlements were built. The Valkyrians and Thek felt proud of themselves. They had tamed the humans without having to destroy them completely. Their own fleets began to spread out, taking over the space routes that humans had once controlled. Trade improved. Planets that had been war zones became peaceful again, but far from the main shipping lanes. In the dark space between stars, different work was happening. Engineer Minho Jiang floated in his work suit outside a massive asteroid. To anyone scanning, from far away it looked like a normal mining operation. Ships came and went, carrying what appeared to be rare metals and ice. But Minho knew better. Inside this rock, 3 new warships were taking shape. How's the progress on the Thunder? He asked through his comm unit. Hull is 60% complete, replied his assistant, Hyung Ho. The new armor plating is incredible. Their weapons won't even scratch it. Minho smiled inside his helmet. The Thunder was going to be the first ship of its kind. It looked like a cargo hauler from the outside, but inside it carried enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. Better yet, it was completely invisible to Valkyrian and Thek sensors. What about the weapon systems? Minho asked. Dr. Han's team finished the designs last week. We're installing them now. The aliens are going to be very surprised when they see what their own technology can do when humans improve it. Across the galaxy, Dr. Yunji Han was indeed making improvements. In a laboratory built inside a hollowed-out moon, she worked with a team of the best scientists Earth had ever produced. They had been studying captured alien technology for years, learning how it worked and how to make it better. The Valkyrian energy shields have a weakness, she explained to her team. Every 7 seconds they flicker for just a moment. It's so fast their own sensors can't detect it, but our computers can. Young Su Nam, her top engineer, looked at the readings. So if we time our weapons perfectly ... we can punch right through their best defenses, Yunji finished, and they'll never know how we did it. The laboratory was full of alien equipment that wasn't supposed to exist. According to the peace treaty, all captured technology should have been returned. But somehow, the aliens had forgotten to ask for certain items. Items that Earth scientists now understood better than their original makers did. Meanwhile, Commander Taesung-o was having the time of his life. His ship, the Peaceful Trader, really did carry cargo between human colonies. But it also carried things that weren't on any official manifest. Cargo Bay 3 is secure, his first officer reported as they approached the New Sol colony. Good, Taesung replied. Make sure our passengers understand they were never here. In Cargo Bay 3, 20 soldiers in civilian clothes prepared for their real mission. They would spread out across New Sol, taking jobs as mechanics, teachers, and shop owners. But their real job was to watch for alien spies and to prepare for the war that was coming. Similar ships made similar trips to every human colony. On the surface, life looked normal. Humans went to work, children went to school, and families lived peaceful lives. But underneath, a secret army was growing. Captain Donghyun Lee had the hardest job of all. He sat in a bar on Valkyria Prime, the alien capital world, drinking something that tasted terrible and pretending to be a simple trader. The Valkyrians around him talked loudly about their victory over the humans. They thought they were so clever, one alien said, waving all 4 arms, but we showed them who really rules this galaxy. Donghyun nodded and smiled, playing the part of a defeated human who just wanted to make some money in alien space. But under the table, his fingers worked on a small device that was recording everything the alien said. Every conversation, every casual comment about military movements, every joke about human weakness, it all went into his reports. I heard they're moving the Omega weapons into position, another Valkyrian said quietly. Donghyun's heart jumped, but he kept his face calm. The Omega weapons were the aliens' secret plan. Massive bombs hidden around human worlds, ready to destroy them all at once. This was the information Earth needed most. Really? Donghyun said casually. That sounds expensive. Worth it too. Keep the humans in line, the first alien replied. Can't have them getting ideas about expansion again. That night, in his small room above the bar, Donghyun sent a coded message to Earth. The message looked like a normal business report about metal prices, but hidden in the numbers was vital intelligence. The aliens were moving faster than expected. Back on Earth, So-Min Park read the decoded message with growing concern. The aliens weren't waiting 2 years like they had originally planned. They wanted to position their weapons within 18 months. We need to accelerate everything, she told Hyun-woo during their next secret meeting. Can our people handle it? Han-woo asked. They'll have to. The good news is that our friend on Valkyria Prime isn't our only source. We have people everywhere now. She was right. Over the past 6 months, human agents had quietly moved into position throughout alien space. They worked as traders, diplomats, and even servants in alien homes. The Valkyrians and Nex saw them as harmless humans trying to make a living in the new galactic order. They had no idea that each agent was a trained operative gathering intelligence. Lieutenant Haijin Kang worked as a translator in the Vec military headquarters. Every day she processed reports about ship movements, weapon deployments, and strategic planning. Every night she memorized the most important details and sent them to Earth. Through channels the aliens didn't even know existed. Kyung-Min Yoon had perhaps the most important job of all. He worked as a computer technician, fixing communication systems throughout alien space. But while he fixed their computers, He also installed tiny programs that would give Earth complete control over alien networks when the time came. The beauty of it, he explained to his handler during a rare, secure communication, is that they trust me completely. I'm just a human trying to make a living. They never suspect that every system I touch becomes ours. The programs he installed were incredibly clever. They did nothing until activated, so alien security scans found nothing wrong. But when Earth sent the activation signal, every alien computer would suddenly obey human commands instead of alien ones. As the months passed, the aliens grew more confident. They saw human ships being scrapped and human colonies staying small. Their own intelligence services reported that Earth's military was following the treaty exactly. Human leaders made speeches about peace and cooperation, but they didn't see the 300 new warships under construction in hidden asteroid bases. They didn't know about the thousands of agents reporting their every move. They had no idea that their own computer systems were already under human control, just waiting for the right moment. Sujin Lim worked as a cultural attaché, supposedly helping humans understand alien customs. But her real job was studying alien psychology. She learned how they thought, what they feared, and how they would react under pressure. They're overconfident, she reported. They believe their own propaganda about human defeat. When we strike, the shock will paralyze them for the first few hours. That's our window. The most amazing discovery came from Young Sunam's mining operation. While studying an asteroid that contained rare metals, his team found something incredible. The asteroid wasn't natural, it was an ancient alien artifact, millions of years old, and it contained technology far beyond anything the current aliens possessed. This changes everything, Minho Jiang said when he saw the reports. If we can understand how this works, we won't just have better weapons than them, we'll have weapons they can't even imagine. As the first year after the treaty ended, Earth's secret leaders met again. The news was better than they had dared hope. The aliens were following their predicted behavior perfectly. They were moving their hidden weapons into position around human worlds, thinking they were preparing humanity's doom. Instead, they were walking into the most elaborate trap in galactic history. Status report, Haiyan Wu said. Fleet construction is ahead of schedule, Minho reported. We'll have over 400 ships ready when we need them. Intelligence networks are fully operational, So Min added. We know where every alien ship is, what weapons they carry, and what their orders are. The computer viruses are installed and tested, Kyung Min confirmed. When we activate them, their own systems will fight against them. Han Wu looked around the room at his team. In public, they played the roles of defeated leaders managing humanity's decline. In private, they were preparing the greatest surprise in military history. How long until they're ready to move? He asked. 6 more months, So Min replied. That's when they plan to activate the Omega weapons and finish what they started. Then we have 6 months to be ready for them, Haiyan Wu said grimly. The galaxy thinks the war is over. Soon, they'll learn it never really began. 1 year after the peace treaty was signed, the galaxy seemed quiet. Trade ships moved safely between worlds. Families on different planets made vacation plans. Children learned about the old days when there had been war between humans and aliens, but Captain Dong Haiyan Li was not on vacation. He was floating in a stealth suit outside a secret Valkyrian weapons facility, watching through his scope as alien technicians loaded something onto a cargo ship. Something that made his blood run cold. The weapons were real. They were massive. Dark cylinders that hummed with deadly energy. Each one was big enough to destroy an entire planet's surface. And according to his intelligence, there were hundreds of them being moved into position around human worlds. Target confirmed, he whispered into his unit. Omega weapon number 47 is being loaded for transport to the Beta Centauri system. The response came back immediately from Lieutenant Haijing Kong, who was monitoring alien communications from inside their military headquarters. Transport ship designation VK7739, estimated arrival in 6 days, Dong Haiyan smiled grimly. In 6 days, that transport ship would have a very unfortunate accident. Nothing dramatic, just a simple engine failure that would force it to dump its cargo in deep space where human recovery ships would be waiting. This was how the Shadow War worked. While the galaxy celebrated peace, small teams of human operatives were systematically destroying alien preparations for genocide. Every hidden weapon found a way to malfunction. Every secret base suffered mysterious technical problems. Every alien spy network discovered that their secure communications weren't secure at all. The aliens noticed these problems, of course, but they saw them as random accidents, bad luck, or simple technical failures. They never suspected that every accident was carefully planned by human agents who knew their every move. Kyung-Min Yoon was particularly good at creating these accidents. As the head of alien computer maintenance for 3-star systems, he had access to everything. When a deck weapons depot suddenly lost power and its defense systems failed, allowing space pirates to steal the contents, it was his work. When a Valkyrian spy ship's navigation computer sent it into an asteroid field, he had programmed the error. The beauty of it, he explained to Sujin Lim during one of their rare face-to-face meetings, is that they fix the problems and thank me for it. They have no idea I caused them in the first place. Sujin had her own methods. As a cultural expert, she understood how alien minds worked. She knew exactly what rumors to spread, what fears to encourage, and what mistakes to let the aliens make on their own. Paranoia is a wonderful thing, she told her handler during a secure communication. I convinced the Valkyrians that the Vek are trying to cheat them out of the best territories. Now they're watching each other instead of watching us. The result was exactly what Earth's planners had hoped for. The two alien empires were still working together, but they didn't trust each other completely. They kept secrets from each other, competed for resources, and made decisions based on suspicion rather than solid intelligence. Meanwhile, human construction projects continued in secret. Minho Jiang had expanded his operations to 17 different asteroid bases. Each one looked like a simple mining operation, but together they were building the largest fleet in galactic history. The new ships are incredible, he reported to his supervisors. We took their best technology and made it better. Our shields are stronger, our weapons hit harder, and our engines are faster. Plus, we have something they don't. That something was the ancient technology Young Su Nam had discovered. Dr. Yunji Han's team had spent months studying the alien artifact, learning how it worked and how to build new versions. It's not just advanced, Yunji explained during a progress briefing. It's from a completely different approach to physics. Their current technology is like using stone tools compared to this. The breakthrough came when they realized the ancient technology could create weapons that existed partially outside normal space. These weapons could hit targets through any kind of shield or armor because they bypassed physical defenses entirely. We're not just building a fleet, Minho said with satisfaction. We're building a fleet that can fight enemies the current aliens can't even imagine. But the most important work was happening in the realm of intelligence. Soman Park's network of agents had grown to cover every major alien world and facility. They knew about every secret meeting, every hidden weapon, every plan for humanity's destruction. The intelligence they gathered revealed the true scope of alien intentions. The peace treaty had never been intended as a real agreement. It was a trap designed to make humans lower their guard while the aliens prepared for complete genocide. They call it the final solution, Hyjin reported from inside that military headquarters. They plan to activate all the Omega weapons simultaneously, destroying every human world at the same time. Then they'll claim it was a terrible accident, caused by human experimentation with dangerous technology. The plan was diabolic in its simplicity. With all humans dead, there would be no one left to contradict the alien version of events. The galaxy would remember humanity as a dangerous species that destroyed itself through reckless science, but the aliens had made one critical mistake. They assumed humans were like them, direct, obvious, and incapable of truly long-term thinking. They planned their genocide like a military operation, with clear targets, specific timelines, and measurable objectives. Humans planned differently. Earth's real strategy wasn't just about winning the coming battle. It was about fundamentally changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. We're not just going to defeat them, Hyan-Wu explained to his inner circle during one of their secret meetings. We're going to make them irrelevant. When this is over, the galaxy will understand that humans don't just think differently. We think better. The proof was already showing. While aliens focused on building bigger weapons and stronger defenses, humans had spent the year learning how to turn the aliens' own tools against them. Every alien computer system now contained hidden programs that could be activated remotely. Every alien communication network had been compromised. Every alien database had been copied and studied. When we're ready to move, Kyung-min reported, we won't just have better weapons than them. We'll have complete control over their weapons too. The psychological warfare was equally effective. Sujin's team had spent months studying alien culture, learning exactly how to break their will to fight. They had identified key leaders who would panic under pressure, important facilities that would cause maximum disruption if disabled, and critical communication links that would isolate alien forces from their command structure. It's not enough to defeat them militarily, Sujin explained. We need to defeat them psychologically too. When this war begins, they need to understand immediately that they never had a chance. As the second year of the peace began, the aliens were finally ready to spring their trap. Hidden weapons were in position around every human world. Secret communication networks were prepared to coordinate the simultaneous attack. Alien fleets were quietly moving into position to deal with any human survivors, but they were not the only ones getting ready. In hidden bases throughout human space, the largest fleet in history was preparing for launch. Ships that had been built in secret for over a year were receiving their final weapons and equipment. Crews that had trained in simulator programs were boarding their vessels for the first time. Admiral Han-Woo Kim stood on the bridge of the Sleeping Dragon, the flagship of humanity's secret fleet. Around him, displays showed the positions of over 500 warships, all invisible to alien sensors, all armed with weapons the aliens had never seen before. All ships report ready, his communications officer announced. Intelligence confirms. Alien timetable, So-Min Park added from her station. They plan to activate the Omega weapons in 72 hours. Hyan-Woo nodded. After 2 years of preparation, the moment was finally here. The aliens thought they were about to commit the perfect genocide. Instead, they were about to discover that they had been outplayed from the very beginning. Send the activation codes to all our people in alien space, he ordered. It's time for them to come home. Across the galaxy, human agents received the signal they had been waiting for. Dong Hyun Lee finished planting his last surprise in the Valkyrian Weapons Depot and activated his emergency transport. Hai Jin Kang downloaded the final alien military plans and triggered her extraction protocol. Kyung Min Yoon uploaded his master virus into the alien communication networks and disappeared into the crowd of a busy spaceport. They had spent 2 years living among the aliens, learning their secrets and preparing for this moment. Now they would return to human space just in time to watch their work pay off. The Shadow War was ending. The real war was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what was waiting for them. Admiral Zethkal of the Valkyrian Empire felt confident as he gave the final order. 2 years of careful planning had led to this moment. Hidden weapons surrounded every human world. Secret fleets waited in dark space. Communication networks were ready to coordinate the attack across dozens of star systems. Begin the final solution, he commanded from his flagship. The absolute victory across the galaxy. Similar orders went out from Thek War Prime Vrextal. Alien technicians reached for activation switches. Computer screens showed targeting data for human cities. Countdown timers began their final sequences, but when the switches were thrown, nothing happened. Sir, reported Zethkal weapons officer, the Omega weapons are not responding. What do you mean, not responding? Zethkal demanded, his forearms gesturing in frustration. The activation signals are being sent, but the weapons aren't receiving them. It's like they don't exist anymore. Similar reports came from every alien ship and base. The hidden weapons that were supposed to destroy humanity had simply vanished. 2 years of secret preparation had resulted in nothing but empty space where doomsday devices should have been on Earth. Sung-ho Park smiled as he watched alien communication networks light up with panicked messages. As head of human communications, he had the pleasure of broadcasting the truth to a galaxy that was about to learn it had been deceived. People of the galaxy, his voice carried across every communication channel, you are about to witness the end of the greatest deception in history. For 2 years you have believed that humanity accepted defeat. You were wrong. The broadcast included recordings that made alien leaders freeze in terror, secret meetings where they planned human genocide, technical specifications for the Omega, weapons, orders to position those weapons around human worlds. Everything that proved the peace treaty had been a lie from the beginning. The Valkyrian Empire and that confederation never intended to honor the peace treaty, Sung-ho continued. They signed it to make humanity lower its guard while they prepared to commit genocide, but humanity knew this all along. Admiral Zethkal watched the broadcast with growing horror. How had humans obtained recordings of meetings that took place in the most secure facilities in Valkyrian space? His answer came when every display screen on his ship suddenly showed the face of Admiral Hyun-woo Kim. "Hello, Zethkal," Hyun-woo said calmly. "By now you've realized that your final solution has failed. Your weapons are gone, your communications are compromised, and your fleets are about to face an enemy they cannot defeat." "Impossible!" Zethkal shouted. "You have no ships? We watched you scrap your entire fleet." Hyun-woo smiled. "You watched us scrap our old fleet. You never saw us build our new one." The space around Zethkal's flagship shimmered, and suddenly it was surrounded by human warships. Not the simple vessels the aliens remembered from the war, but sleek, deadly machines that appeared from nowhere like ghosts materializing in the darkness. "Our new ships have a few improvements," Hyun-woo explained as Zethkal stared at sensors that showed impossible readings. "Perfect stealth technology, for example. Energy shields that can't be penetrated. And weapons that bypass your defenses entirely." The demonstration came quickly. One human ship fired a single shot at a nearby Valkyrian cruiser. The beam passed through the cruiser's shields as if they weren't there, and the massive alien ship simply came apart. "How?" Zethkal whispered. "We studied your technology for years," Hyun-woo replied. "We learned how it worked, then we improved it. But more importantly, we learned how you think. Every move you made, we predicted. Every plan you created, we knew about. Every weapon you built, we stole." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Alien fleets that had been preparing for an easy genocide found themselves facing enemies that seemed to appear from empty space. The human ships were faster, stronger, and armed with weapons that alien defenses couldn't stop. Captain Mi Young-bae commanded the human attack on the Deck Home system. Her fleet of 50 ships faced over 200 deck vessels, but the numbers meant nothing. "Target their command ships first," she ordered. "Let's see how well they fight when they can't communicate." The ancient technology that Dr. Yoonji Han's team had perfected made the battle completely one-sided. Human weapons existed partially outside normal space, allowing them to strike targets through any kind of defense. Deck ships that had seemed invincible during the original war now exploded helplessly as human beams cut through them like they were made of paper. But the humans weren't just winning through superior technology. They were winning because they understood their enemies better than the enemies understood themselves. Colonel Woo Jin Kim led the assault on Valkyrian Prime, the alien capital world. His ships didn't attack randomly. Instead, they struck specific targets that Sujin Lim's psychological warfare team had identified as critical to Valkyrian morale. "Hit the Monument of Victory first," he ordered. "Then the central communication hub. Make sure every Valkyrian sees their symbols of power falling." The effect was exactly what Sujin had predicted. Valkyrian resistance collapsed not because their defenses were overwhelmed, but because their will to fight was broken. They had believed they were the superior species, destined to rule the galaxy. Watching humans casually destroy their most important symbols made them realize they had been wrong about everything. Meanwhile, Kyung-Min Yoon's computer viruses activated across alien space. Communication networks that had carried orders for genocide now carried human commands instead. Alien ships found their own computers turning against them, opening airlocks, disabling weapons, and sending false information to their crews. The beauty of it, Kyung-Min explained to his team, is that they built the networks we're using against them. Every communication satellite, every data relay, every computer terminal, they all belong to us now. The aliens tried to fight back, but their resistance was hopeless. 2 years of human intelligence work had mapped every alien ship, base, and weapon. The secret agents who had lived among them had learned their weaknesses, their fears, and their critical vulnerabilities. Dr. Yoon-ji Han watched from the bridge of her research vessel as alien fleets tried desperately to adapt to human weapons. They're trying to recalibrate their shields, she reported with satisfaction. It won't work. Our weapons don't interact with their shields at all. The ancient technology was beyond anything the current aliens could understand. It operated on principles of physics they hadn't discovered yet. Trying to defend against it was like trying to stop rain with a fishing net, but perhaps the most devastating weapon was the truth itself. Soho Park's broadcasts continued throughout the battle, showing the galaxy exactly what had happened. Secret alien plans for genocide. Human agents living undetected in alien society for years. The careful preparation that had turned apparent defeat into overwhelming victory. This is what happened, Sung-ho explained to billions of viewers. 2 years ago, humanity signed a peace treaty we knew was fraudulent. We knew the aliens planned to kill us all. So we let them think they had won while we prepared for the real war. The psychological impact was enormous. Every species in the galaxy realized that humans had been playing a game several levels above anything they had imagined. The primitive species that had seemed defeated was actually the most sophisticated intelligence. Operation in galactic history, Admiral Zethkal's flagship, the absolute victory was now surrounded by 30 human warships. His own crew was in panic, unsure whether their computers were still under their control or had been compromised like everything else. You want to surrender? Han Wu asked through the communication link. Zethkal looked around his bridge at displays showing the destruction of his entire fleet. In less than 3 hours, the Valkyrian Empire's military had been reduced to scattered survivors begging for mercy. How long have you been planning this? He asked. Longer than you might think, Han Wu replied. Human intelligence has been operating in your space for over a decade. We've been studying you, learning from you, and preparing for this moment since before the original war even began. The truth was even more shocking than Zethkal could imagine. Earth's intelligence services had been manipulating galactic events for years. They had encouraged the original conflicts that led to the war. They had suggested strategies to alien leaders that seemed brilliant but contained fatal flaws. They had even planted the idea for the peace treaty in alien minds, knowing it would give them the perfect opportunity to prepare their counterattack. The entire war was planned by humans? Zethkal asked in disbelief. Not the entire war, Hyung-woo corrected, just the parts that mattered. We needed you to attack us first so the galaxy would see you as the aggressors. We needed you to feel confident about your victory so you would underestimate us. And we needed you to reveal your true intentions so everyone would understand what kind of species you really are. War Prime Vrextal, commanding the surviving Vec forces, had reached the same horrifying conclusion. The humans hadn't just won this battle. They had orchestrated the entire conflict from beginning to end. Every alien move had been predicted, countered, and turned to human advantage. What do you want? He asked through gritted teeth. Unconditional surrender, Captain Mi Young-bae replied from her flagship. Your fla. 2 years after the Great Battle, the galaxy was a very different place. The Valkyrian Empire and that confederation still existed, but they were no longer the powers they once were. Their fleets had been scattered, their leaders replaced, and their entire way of thinking changed forever. Fleet Admiral De Yun Choi stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Vigilance, watching as another group of alien refugees arrived at New Harmony Station. These weren't prisoners of war, they were volunteers, aliens who had chosen to join the new galactic civilization that humanity was building. How many today? She asked her operations officer. 3,000 Valkyrians, 500 Thek. And about 50 from various smaller species, Lieutenant Commander J1 replied. They're all requesting integration into human society. Dayun nodded. This was happening across the galaxy. Aliens who had once considered humans to be inferior were now abandoning their old empires to live under human leadership. They weren't being forced to make this choice. They were making it because they recognized that humanity offered something their old governments never had. The reason was simple. In the 2 years since the war ended, humanity had proven that they weren't interested in ruling through fear or oppression. Instead, they ruled through competence, fairness, and an ability to solve problems that other species couldn't handle. Colonel Woo Jin Kim was seeing this firsthand on Valkyria Prime. As the military governor of the former alien capital, he had expected years of resistance and rebellion. Instead, he found himself dealing with Valkyrians who were genuinely grateful for human administration. The food distribution is working perfectly, reported his Valkyrian assistant Kethvalium. No shortages. No waste, no corruption. In 2 years under human management, we've eliminated problems that plagued us for centuries. Wu Jin wasn't surprised. Human organizational skills were simply better than what the aliens had developed. Where alien bureaucracies were complex, inefficient, and corrupt, human systems were streamlined, effective, and transparent. What about the reconstruction of the industrial districts? Wu Jin asked. Ahead of schedule, Kethvalium replied with something that might have been pride. Human engineers showed us techniques we never imagined. Our factories are now producing 3 times what they did before the war, with half the energy consumption. This was the pattern everywhere. Humans didn't just conquer alien worlds, they improved them. Cities became cleaner and more efficient. Transportation systems worked better. Crime rates dropped. Even alien culture flourished under human guidance. As humans helped alien artists and writers explore ideas their old governments had suppressed, but not every alien was happy with the new order. Some still dreamed of returning to the old days when their empires ruled vast territories and other species served them. These aliens formed resistance groups, trying to organize rebellions against human authority. Strategic analyst Insu Lee tracked these groups from his office in the Central Intelligence Complex on Earth. His job was to predict where resistance might emerge and to deal with it before it became dangerous. We have a problem developing in the Outer Rim, he reported during the weekly security briefing. A group of former Thek military officers are trying to organize a fleet of rebel ships. How serious is it? Asked Director So-Min Park, who still run Earth's intelligence services. Not very, Insu replied with a slight smile. They think they're being clever, but we've had agents in their organization since it started. We know their plans, their resources, and their weaknesses. When they try to move, we'll be ready. This was the reality of resistance against human rule. The same intelligence networks that had won the war continued to operate throughout the galaxy. Every rebel group, every secret meeting, every plan for uprising, humans knew about all of it before it could become dangerous. Dr. Hae-Won Jung had spent the past 2 years studying the psychological effects of the war on alien populations. Her research revealed something fascinating about how the conflict had changed alien thinking. They're not just accepting human leadership, she explained to a conference of human administrators. They're beginning to think like humans. Problem solving instead of just following tradition. Long-term planning instead of short-term reactions. Cooperation instead of domination. The evidence was everywhere. Alien businesses were adopting human management techniques and seeing huge improvements in productivity. Alien schools were teaching human-style critical thinking and producing students who asked better questions. Even alien families were changing, becoming more egalitarian and less hierarchical. But perhaps the most important change was in how aliens viewed humanity itself. Before the war, they had seen humans as a dangerous but primitive species that needed to be controlled. Now they understood that humans operated on a completely different level of strategic thinking. Young Valkyrian students learned about the war in their history classes, and they were amazed by what they discovered. The humans hadn't just won through superior weapons or luck. They had orchestrated the entire conflict, predicting alien moves years in advance and preparing countermeasures for every possible scenario. The treaty deception, as historians now called it, had become a case study in military academies throughout the galaxy. Students analyzed how humans had used apparent weakness as a tool of war, how they had manipulated alien overconfidence, and how they had turned the aliens' own planning against them, but the lessons went beyond military strategy. Young aliens learned that humans didn't just fight differently, they thought differently. They considered possibilities that other species missed, planned for contingencies that others ignored, and solved problems through creativity rather than brute force. This educational revolution was having profound effects. A generation of young aliens was growing up with deep respect for human intelligence and methods. They weren't being taught to worship humans, but to understand that humanity had developed ways of thinking that produced better results than traditional alien approaches. The economic changes were equally dramatic. Under human guidance, former alien territories were experiencing unprecedented prosperity. Trade flowed more efficiently than ever before. New technologies developed through human-alien cooperation were solving problems that had seemed impossible just a few years earlier. Captain Desu, now Admiral of the Merchant Marine, oversaw this economic integration. His ships carried not just goods but also ideas, spreading human innovations throughout the galaxy while bringing alien resources and knowledge back to human space. "The profits are incredible," he reported to the Economic Council, "but more importantly, we're creating genuine cooperation. Aliens aren't just working for us, they're working with us." This cooperation was producing remarkable results. Valkyrian manufacturing techniques combined with human design principles created products better than either species could produce alone. Vec agricultural methods enhanced by human science were feeding more people with less environmental damage than anyone had thought possible. Even former alien leaders were beginning to understand the new reality. Admiral Zethkal, now serving as a human advisor on Valkyrian affairs, had spent 2 years studying human methods and philosophy. "We were fools," he admitted during a private conversation with Admiral Hyun-woo Kim. "We thought strength meant the ability to destroy. You showed us that real strength is the ability to build." Hyun-woo nodded. "That was always the difference between us. You plan for war. We plan for what comes after war." The truth was that humanity's victory had been about more than military superiority. It had been about offering a vision of the future that was genuinely better than what the aliens had been able to imagine for themselves. "When we signed that peace treaty," Han-woo continued, "we weren't just buying time to prepare for battle. We were buying time to show the galaxy what human leadership could accomplish." The results spoke for themselves. Crime rates had dropped across all former alien territories. Poverty was being systematically eliminated through efficient resource distribution. Scientific research was advancing faster than ever before through cross-species collaboration. Even alien art and culture were experiencing a renaissance under human guidance. Dr. Yoonji Han's research stations had become models for this new kind of cooperation. Her teams included the best scientists from dozens of species, all working together to push the boundaries of knowledge and technology. "We're not just ruling the galaxy," she explained to visiting dignitaries. "We're helping it reach its full potential." But the most impressive achievement was in the realm of interspecies relations. Before the war, different alien species had maintained complex webs of alliance and rivalry. Now, under human coordination, they were learning to work together as equals. The Galactic Council that had emerged from the post-war settlement included representatives from every major species, but it was clear that humans provided the leadership. That made cooperation possible. Other species brought their unique strengths and perspectives, but humans provided the vision and organizational skills that turned diverse contributions into effective action. Minister Ji-hoon Ahn, who had become the first human president of the Galactic Council, summed up the new reality in a speech that was broadcast throughout known space. 3 years after the end of the war, President Ji-hoon Ahn stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. The Great Assembly Hall on New Earth could hold representatives from every inhabited world in known space. And today it was completely full. Aliens and humans sat together in mixed groups, discussing plans for the future with an ease that would have been impossible just a few years earlier. Valkyrians worked alongside humans on economic proposals. VEC delegates collaborated with human scientists on research projects. Dozens of smaller species contributed their unique perspectives to problems that affected everyone. Today we celebrate not just peace but unity, Ji-hoon began his speech. 3 years ago, this galaxy was divided by fear, suspicion, and the belief that different species could never truly cooperate. Today we prove that belief was wrong. In the audience, former Admiral Zethkal listened with mixed emotions. He wore the simple robes of a galactic counselor now, his military decorations replaced by badges representing his work in interspecies relations. The alien who had once commanded fleets designed to destroy humanity now served as one of humanity's most trusted advisors. I spent my life believing that strength came from domination, he had written in his memoirs, which have become required reading in schools throughout the galaxy. Humans taught me that real strength comes from elevation, making others stronger, instead of keeping them weak. The transformation had been remarkable. In 3 years, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous 3 centuries. Technologies that had been military secrets were now shared freely between species. Trade routes that had been battlegrounds were now peaceful highways connecting distant worlds. Scientific discoveries that had been hoarded by individual empires were now part of a common knowledge base that benefited everyone. Admiral Hyun-woo Kim, now Supreme Commander of the Unified Galactic Defense Force, had watched this transformation with deep satisfaction. The military that had won the war had evolved into something unprecedented, a truly integrated force where humans and aliens served together as equals. The old way of thinking about military power was flawed, he explained to new officers during their graduation ceremony. We thought success meant having the strongest weapons or the biggest fleets. But real security comes from having allies who trust you in systems that work for everyone. The Unified Defense Force was proof of this philosophy. Its ships were crewed by mixed teams of humans and aliens, each species contributing their unique strengths. Valkyrian engineering combined with human strategic thinking produced vessels that were both powerful and efficient. The sensor technology, enhanced by human creativity, created detection systems that could monitor entire star systems for threats, but perhaps more importantly, the Force had virtually nothing to fight. The old patterns of interspecies conflict had disappeared, replaced by cooperation and mutual support. When problems arose, they were solved through negotiation and compromise rather than violence. Director So-min Park, now head of the Galactic Intelligence Coordination Office, had seen her job change completely. Instead of gathering secrets to use against enemies, her agents now shared information to solve common problems. We still have intelligence networks throughout the galaxy, she explained to a conference of security officials. But now they work to prevent problems instead of preparing for wars. We identify potential conflicts before they start and help resolve them through understanding rather than force. This new approach to intelligence had produced remarkable results. Economic crises were predicted and prevented before they could cause suffering. Natural disasters were prepared for with unprecedented efficiency. Even crime was being reduced through better understanding of its root causes. The economic transformation was equally impressive. Under the old system, different species had competed for resources and markets, creating inefficiencies and conflicts. The new integrated economy allowed each species to focus on what they did best while sharing the benefits with everyone. Engineer Minho Jang, now director of Galactic Infrastructure, oversaw projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Massive construction efforts involving dozens of species were building transportation networks, communication systems, and research facilities that served the entire galaxy. We're not just building ships and stations, he explained to his staff. We're building the foundation for a civilization that can last for thousands of years. The cultural changes were perhaps even more significant than the economic ones. Young people from different species grew up together in integrated schools, learning not just facts but also how to think in ways that their ancestors never could have imagined. Dr. Haywan. Jung's research into cross-species psychology had become the basis for educational systems throughout the galaxy. Children learned to approach problems from multiple perspectives, to consider possibilities that single-species thinking might miss, and to value cooperation over competition. We're raising a generation that doesn't just tolerate differences, she observed. They celebrate them as sources of strength and creativity. The results were visible everywhere. Young Valkyrians who thought like humans but retained their species' traditional attention to detail. Human children who had learned that patience and thoroughness. Mixed teams of students who solved problems that had puzzled their elders for generations, but the most remarkable change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity itself. The species that had once been seen as dangerous upstarts was now recognized as natural leaders, not because they were stronger or smarter than everyone else, but because they had developed ways of thinking that produced better outcomes for everyone. Ambassador? The Jin SCO, who supervised relations with the former alien empires, had seen this change firsthand. Alien leaders who had once resented human authority now sought human advice on everything from economic policy to family problems. They don't follow us because they have to, she reported to the Galactic Council. They follow us because they've learned that human methods work better than what they were doing before. This wasn't arrogance or species chauvinism. Humans had proven their leadership through results, not claims. Every world under human administration was more prosperous, peaceful, and happy than it had been under its previous government. Every problem solved through human methods stayed solved instead of recurring endlessly. The proof was in the statistics. Crime rates had dropped to historical lows. Economic inequality was being systematically eliminated. Scientific research was advancing at an unprecedented pace. Even measures of personal happiness and life satisfaction showed dramatic improvements across all species. Young Sunam, now in charge of resource distribution for the entire galaxy, had the satisfaction of knowing that no inhabited world lacked for anything essential. The complex logistics networks he had helped design ensured that food, medicine, energy, and other necessities reached every population that needed them. Scarcity was always artificial, he explained to economics students. The galaxy has more than enough resources for everyone. The old system created shortages through inefficiency and conflict. The new system creates abundance through cooperation and intelligence. As President Ji-hoon continued his speech to the Great Assembly, he reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The peace treaty that had started it all. The document that aliens had thought would limit human power had instead become the foundation for human leadership of the entire galaxy. That treaty was indeed a fraud, he said, his words carried to billions of listeners throughout known space. But not in the way anyone expected. The aliens who wrote it thought they were creating human limitations. Instead, they created human opportunities. The audience laughed, but it was warm laughter that included both humans and aliens. The old tensions and fears had been replaced by mutual respect and shared purpose. The real fraud, Ji-hoon continued, was the belief that different species could never truly work together. That fraud has been exposed by the reality of what we've accomplished in just 3 years. He gestured to displays showing the remarkable progress the galaxy had made. New worlds being colonized through joint human-alien efforts. Research stations, where scientists from dozens of species worked together on projects that benefited everyone. Trade networks that connected the most distant worlds in webs of mutual prosperity. This is what the galaxy looks like when we stop fighting each other and start working together, he said. This is what becomes possible when we combine our strengths, instead of competing with our weaknesses. Admiral Hyun-woo Kim, watching from his seat in the military section, thought about the long journey from that first secret meeting in the underground bunker to this moment of galactic unity. The plan had worked better than anyone had dared hope. Not only had humanity survived the alien attempt at genocide, but they had transformed the entire galaxy in the process. The greatest victory, he had once written in his private journal, is not defeating your enemies. It's making them realize they never needed to be your enemies in the first place. As the Great Assembly concluded with representatives from hundreds of worlds pledging continued cooperation, the transformation was complete. The galaxy that had once been divided by fear and competition was now united by hope and share.